The name of the show is The Way to Go. My name is Alan Bendich. I'm going to be your host, and we have a return guest. He's an actor, and he's really an actor. He loves his craft, and his name is Anthony Coppola.
Hi,
Welcome
Alan.
back to the show.
Thank you, sir.
It's been a long time. I haven't seen you.
I haven't seen you. You changed. You got so old.
So, I mean, I enjoy your passion because I mirror it. You know, I feel the same way. You know, it's like,
good.
And do you think you'll do this like for the rest of your life?
I'd love to. I really want to. I mean, and that passion, it's something that, again, if you're not in it, you may not, you know, understand it.
Right.
But if you are, you understand it, right, and you appreciate the art and you value it and enjoy it.
So what does it feel like the first day of shooting when you come on a set? I mean, like, let's say you're driving to the set for the first day. What's going through your mind?
I'm always trying to, you know, make sure I have my sides and my script down pretty well.
So you're driving and you're doing the script?
Sometimes.
Are you talking to yourself and stuff like that?
Yeah, no, aside from talking to myself. I actually, that's one way I believe in repetition. I mean, when we listen to music, you remember lines of songs, you remember the words to songs because you've heard them so many times and you enjoy listening to them. Well, I actually use a voice recorder, and I may record my sides with the partner and listen to it, and it helps me bring it kind of.
That was the trick I learned with my phone when I first had my phone.
Right.
What I did was I put the other sides, you know, because it's most of acting is dialogue.
And you left yours blank.
Right. So, but I'd have to make sure that I left enough space for me to do lines.
I know.
But I would do that in my.
There's apps now. There's line learner apps.
I have to. I should pick one up. But I did it myself, and it really helped.
That does help.
But you're right, repetition.
Yeah, repetition, listening.
I also learned from, and I'm trying to remember the guy's last name, but the guy who I took acting classes in after I got my first part the second time around.
Right.
He. And now I'm beginning to forget the thought, but I was trying to do the monologue, and now, of course, I forgot where I was going with it. So please.
Do you remember the monologue?
It was the Glenn Ross.
Oh, okay. That's a good one.
Alec Baldwin.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
That's a great one.
And it got me parts. I remember the first time I did it, I got the part.
That's great.
When they asked me to do a monologue, and I did it with such passion.
Yeah.
I wish I would, yeah.
Well, these days, I mean, for myself, these days, monologues are not used that frequently. They're used more for theater. Right. It's more of a scene, or sides for a scene.
Right.
So that's and yeah, you want to have your little tool bag with a few of them, so you can your go-tos that you know well, like the back of your hand.
But also, you know, like because the whole dialogue issue is where I was talking about before. You know, but going back to the monologue, I like that better. Monologue is, they see you on stage for a long period of time.
Yes.
And it's just you and the words.
Right.
And,
right.
You know,
I like it too. I think it could show your range and really bring out your skills in a monologue.
But at the same time, though, if you're using the same monologue all the time,
it gets stale.
It gets stale.
It gets stale.
Do you have a monologue?
I had a couple, and to be honest with you, they did get stale. But I don't use them because they're rarely used these days. It's more scenes that you do.
I've been thinking about going back to classes too, because
it's always good, and it's never too late.
Have you ever thought about teaching?
No, I just haven't. I mean, I enjoy. I feel like I'm still a work in progress, and I enjoy learning everything I can, and I totally can relate to all the different facets, the coaches and the producing end and directing end, and yeah, I like the acting part though.
Yeah, Ken offered me a job because Ken Kushner is thinking about starting a class.
Oh, really?
And he asked me recently if I wanted to join as a teacher, and I'm thinking about it, but
Pretty interesting. A scene study class
Yes.
type of thing on camera.
on camera.
Yeah, it would be
It
interesting.
would be interesting, but again, who has time?
Well-
it's always the time aspect of it.
Time is
I remember,
key.
matter of fact, the teacher that I did have after I started acting again used to come to my office, and we'd go into
Really?
during lunchtime.
Okay.
And close the door, and we'd do the class there.
Right.
It's. I was living and breathing it all the time, and I want to get back to that. But
I love your passion for it, and that's how people who really enjoy what they do feel about it. They want it like they eat it and sleep it and breathe it.
And as much as I like it, I also feel like I really want to I want to satisfy the need of the filmmaker. I want them. I don't want them to say, okay, that was good. I want them to either be wowed or to be moved.
Yes.
Because to me, the owner of the film is two people, the writer and the director, especially the director, I think.
Yeah,
Because
and that's what a good actor and someone who's passionate wants to do.
Right.
They want their performance to be great, not just, okay, great, and believable.
And I've seen like a lot of filmmakers that are on their way, except adequate. And again, the other thing is the expense. If it's and you try to get the best you can get out of that actor. You
Right.
know what I mean?
Right.
It might not be the best, but it's the best you're going to get.
Sure. Sure.
And it's interesting.
It is totally interesting thing.
And
And the different genres. I mean, I've done some of the dramatic, serious roles, but the comedies, that's an interesting thing
And
because that's timing.
a little later you will share one of yours. Not yet.
Oh,
but
okay.
a little later. But maybe you could tell a little bit about one of. I mean, I was going to ask you actually in the last show. I wanted to ask you about comedy because you spoke specifically about drama.
I totally enjoy it. And it's another skill where it's so much has to do with timing. But you could play that straight man and that deadpan, and then you could be goofy too. So it's a combination of both. But I think the comedic part is probably more difficult to most actors than the drama.
And I think that's why it's been my experience, and I've noticed that comedians make good actors. Because
Yes.
they definitely got the comedy aspect down pat.
Yeah.
And the dramatic is easier.
Yeah,
really
I
do
think so. I think so.
The whole timing issue.
Yeah.
So, how many comedies have you done?
A few independent, films and some clips and things that are involved with comedy and the web series type of thing.
But do you play the straight man usually? Or do you play
Yeah, it's usually the deadpan, but depends on the script. It's always interesting to see what part. But yeah, it depends on the script.
So you know what I'm thinking? Maybe it is time to show. You did something on Comedy Central, right?
Yeah, talking deadpan. It was, and you'll see it in the clip, a spoof on it's like The Office, but it's a gentleman that.
You know what? Don't give too much away.
I won't give it away.
Okay, this is something that you don't have to explain because it's self-explanatory and it's really funny.
Okay.
And I want to share it with the audience. So watch Anthony in action in this comedic spot that was actually on Comedy Central.
I'm always looking for the path of least resistance, which is why I moved my entire office into a pool. I'm Rich Lewis, and I run the world's only fully ergonomic aquatic office. I had watched my team try everything to make their life at work more comfortable: standing desks, exercise balls, walking desks, but everything changed once we got in the water. Now that gravity isn't holding the team down, profits and morale are going up. People assume it's expensive, but we had some extra budget at the end of the fiscal year, and you know what they say: if you don't use it, you lose it. Obviously, there were a number of logistical questions, the biggest one being, how do we get the electronics in the water? Isn't it dangerous? It was actually pretty easy. We used commercial-grade plastic wrap, and just like that, we were in business in the water. Some people worry about their staff getting too comfortable and them getting complacent. I just don't think that's going to be an issue here.
That's not good.
talk about deadpan. No, that was pretty awesome. That was
I loved
hilarious.
it. It was a lot of fun. I got wet too. I was in the water, but it was fun.
Right.
And right. In between, sometimes we just burst out laughing, but it was so witty the way they wrote it.
Right.
And yeah, it was a lot of fun. And it went viral. It went viral. There was so many people contacting me. My connections on LinkedIn and Facebook, but also friends and family. I saw this, and it was really enjoyable.
How long did it take to film that?
1 full day.
That's it?
That was it.
That's the beauty of like web, these web series
Yeah.
and all this stuff. Same thing with the Stay at Home Dad, that show that I
Yes.
worked on. It's you usually get it done in less than a day, actually, and it's amazing. And if you have the right like venue,
Yeah.
anything can happen.
Yeah.
I remember when we did the Stay at Home Dad, we were watching, the Brandon Williams, the guy I was talking about
Right.
earlier, the star of that, was constantly looking at his phone, seeing how many views it was getting. It was getting like tens of thousands of views, and so I mean, it's crazy. Right?
And again, I'm old school, and things have changed. You reach so many more people via all these different means of social media and webs. It's amazing and it's interesting.
But going back to old school though, back in the '80s, really, I mean, it was just the beginning of even cable.
Well,
So I mean, the things that everyone saw, everyone watched CBS, NBC. I mean,
Right, it was like the three main channels, the network television.
and millions and millions of people saw it. Now the audience has dried up a little bit on network television versus
yes,
all
there's so
these
much more they can stream and
I mean, now
watch.
Netflix. I mean,
Netflix
it's
and
crazy.
so
Everything's
many.
on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess you mentioned that you're not really interested in directing and producing.
I don't. I totally admire the directors but co-producing possibly. But I really love just the acting part and.
Yeah, I found one of the reasons why I went into directing and producing was a couple of things. Was, of course, I did have a background in Hollywood and all this stuff, so I saw a lot of behind the scenes stuff.
Right.
But also, it encouraged. I was able to give actors who weren't getting work. You know what I mean? And it becomes.
I love that.
And I had like my own little troupe of actors, and we would do a show every month. I'm trying to get back into it. It's been, but I have no time.
I understand, and time is the issue. But I totally appreciate that and value people like you who are always looking out for the other actors and want to create and always rooting for your cohorts. That's a good thing.
And it was fun, and I still have these people, and unfortunately they're waiting for the next show,
Yeah.
But I haven't done it in like a year, and it's.
Get into it. Get into it.
The problem, the work.
I know.
So I think I probably have like a year or two. I shouldn't say that left for work, and then after that, I think.
But I do that a lot with a lot of my friends in the community, and the community's pretty small. You get to know who does, and again, I try to do work with people who I like and who are good people, and also talented. So collaborating with them, and whether they want to do a web series or they want to do a small independent film, and if it's good people, and it could wind up being something that's really a good project.
So have you ever done a love scene?
I've done a couple, nothing too risque, but yeah, I've done a couple.
And do you find it easy to, like, I've done a few movies where you're with someone who you're supposed to love. Mm-hmm. Do you find it easy is love an easy act for you?
Well, I'm a loving guy.
Right.
I happen to love my girlfriend that I'm with, so if I can visualize that person, and again, you have to put yourself in that mode, and take, and as an older fella, I can do that. Take your life experiences, the good ones, the sad ones, but the happy ones and the loving ones, and bring it to your character.
And you also, a person of my age, I'll put it, you have character in your face. You know what I mean? It's like every wrinkle I have is, is a result.
Is earned. Every gray is earned. So.
All that stuff. So, and even my dad, at 104, just having him on the frame is a scene. You know what I mean? It's like.
As I said, we're all characters. So bring that character, and that's what they say. Acting is not. You want to act, don't act. It's bring yourself to the role. And
and you mentioned before also that that you want to be surrounded by people who you like working with, and that's the beauty of it. You know, like if you could trust the people around you, you know, who will be able to, you know, if you fall, they'll pick you up or whatever. You know, if there's a moment, you know, whatever it is, to keep it going.
You know, it's funny, Alan. I mean, look, we're in a world, and we know there's so much crazy stuff going on, and you're right. And there are people who are not that way, and they're just not giving and not on the, you know, on the level. But there's also people, and there are good people out there, and you just have to migrate and connect with the good people and work with each other.
I've been fortunate to do that, but every now and then, especially if you're producing a show, you get other people in that are like...
It happens. It happens. That's life. It happens. Right. But again, I get away from them like the plague, and I connect with the people that I care about. And, you know, I think I'm a pretty good judge of character, and someone who has good character and like you, for the person, and you want it. That's a pleasure. That's a refreshing thing when you're enjoying each other and making some projects that are meaningful to both of you or the audience too, and enjoying it.
And giving people work, which to me is, because actors have to act. So we talked earlier about New York versus Hollywood. And have you ever even gone to Hollywood to check it out?
I haven't, and I have some friends that are making the move. Fortunately, there's a lot going on in New York these days. You know, a lot of television shows, and I booked a role on a television show that happens to be on Stars called Power, and I play a cop. But again, that's the scenes are set in New York, as many of the network shows are now. So that's pretty good. But I know it's a different world there. I know you know a lot about it, and I don't.
No, but it was fun. But, you know, you say Power. One of the episodes that I did of Cagney and Lacey was called Power.
Oh, really?
And I had one line in it. And James Frawley, who was William Frawley's son, he was also the director of All the Monkeys.
William Frawley from Lucy Daisy on it.
But his son, James, who used to direct the Monkeys and a whole bunch of other television shows in the 60s and 70s. He made sure that I had, you know, a significant part, and it was called Power. So when you said Power, it just reminded me. I didn't pick it up before when we talked about it backstage.
Really
but I love that title, Power. You know,
it's a good show. It's a really good show.
I haven't seen it yet, but I'm going to.
It's a good show. You could binge it. It's actually the episode I'm on is the premiere for season 6, which is coming up in August, and it's the final season. 50 Cent as producer, so it's a good show, and it's interesting, and they were great to work with. So.
And the good news is that if you were great to work with, they'll work with you again.
Yes.
That's the way it works, you know.
Absolutely.
Because I don't audition that much anymore, and I miss it.
Yeah.
Because when you audition, there's a chance you're not going to get the part. If I'm usually I get calls for the parts that I have, so you get a little bit. It's a different mentality.
You do. It is different.
I think to be fresh, it's good to audition.
It is different. I mean, listen, every actor wants to get to the point where they don't really need to audition and they're just called for the part. But it is part of the process, and it's interesting. The part I got as a cop on Power, I auditioned, but I auditioned for a medical examiner.
That's interesting.
So I went in as an ME. It was only a couple of lines. I auditioned. I didn't hear anything. Weeks later, I heard they're interested in you for a different part. Are you interested? I said, yes, of course. And that's how it happened. So again, that look, you know, if you have a certain look and they're like, you know, that helps.
Right, it does help. Definitely helps, because the look, you know, I guess the audience expects a certain look for a certain character. Yeah. And then commercials too, as we discussed briefly with commercials. Right. I mean, you know, they want people who are real. You know, who looks real, who's believable when you see an actor portraying someone. And most of the commercials I've done are with Brandon Williams, the same guy. So basically, I played different things, but I'm willing to do anything. One thing I played was they were selling a hair dye.
Okay.
And I was the person who was using the bad stuff hair dye. So like it's pouring down my face. I look like I'm willing to do anything to work with these guys. You know,
why not?
I mean, it's fun.
Why not?
Because we're pals. You know.
That's pretty cool.
And when you're pals with producers, it makes.
That's cool.
You know you're going to get the call, and you're working with friends. You know? And they can trust you. They know that you'll be there if you want to, if they need.
And that's important. And that's how it is with auditioning and with the whole process. as you meet casting directors and producers, they get to know you, and they know and that was the word, trust.
Right.
They know they can trust you.
Right.
They know you know your way around the set. They know you're going to be professional. You're going to come prepared, and that's what they want. That's what will get you
And you'll be there
additional
on
work.
time.
You'll be on time. The little things that people don't realize.
Time is a terrible thing.
You know,
like,
accountability.
a person comes in late.
Yeah,
It's the,
it's
I mean,
not
from the
professional.
vantage point of the director or the producer, I realize how terrible it is if you have 9 of the 10 cast members and that 10th person's in the scene. If that person doesn't come, it screws everything up.
You're absolutely right. There's so many parts, moving parts to a production, whether it's television, film, or anything, and everyone has to do their part, and it all has to work like clockwork. And you're right. If one guy's not there and he's in the scene, what happens? It screws up the day.
And the other thing, like Ken Kushner, I was in this thing that he did called, television show that he did called The Psychotics. It was interesting. It was fun. My father was in it too.
Okay.
And I remember that one actor who worked with me on my show, Krissa, nice actress. She and I had a great scene together. I was telling her, she was asking me how I should do the scene, and I was telling her. And Ken said, it's best if I do the directing. And we didn't say it in a nasty tone. He said, because you don't want to confuse the actress.
True.
Or the actor.
True.
And he said that to me, and I heard it, but then when I started directing, then I really heard it. And then I told him the last time he was on this show, I said, you taught me something that still sticks with me, and this was like 6 years ago, that, you let the director direct.
Absolutely.
And
everyone has their part, different hats, and it's so easy and tempting not to, and to start interjecting, and you sit back and let them do their job, because that's their job.
Exactly, and I've worked
sense.
with actors who put their 2 cents in, and the other thing I told them, not only does it confuse the actors, it pisses off, and I said that on TV.
Sure.
the director.
I'm
it really
sure.
gets them upset,
Yeah.
because I know how it feels. It's like a terrible feeling.
Right.
It's the worst.
Right.
Because all of a sudden they're second guessing. You start second guessing yourself.
Right.
Because you don't want to lose your cast.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Right. It's interesting.
It's the process is an interesting process.
But I think the most important process that I find, in creating is the editing, because everything happens in editing.
Big time.
When I was in Cagney and Lacey, it was all film, so we had our own editing. We had this big studio where everything happened except for like when we went on locations. It was a warehouse that they had the precinct in, and they had Tyne and Sharon's apartments in, and they had a bar in there and everything. But it was an abandoned warehouse that they used as a studio.
How long were you on that series?
For 3 years.
Nice.
Now, but we also had like an editing bin, and I became friends with the editors. Now it's like, the editors could cut you out of a scene.
It's happened to me.
Right.
It's happened to me.
But
And it's all part of the process. If you're part of the story, and you're right, the editing means a lot. It brings it together, and there's a lot. It's an art in itself.
And the music is part of the editing, and all this stuff is part of the editing.
Absolutely.
And that's the key. I lost my editor. And that's why, for the most part, I've stopped actually producing. But I might have another editor, and that's the best part. So do I have the energy to do it? That's also the thing.
No, I know, and you're right. That's a big part. I totally agree. When you watch the process and you're going, whether you're doing a television program or film, and there's a lot of different angles the camera needs to take and different parts, and then the editor comes in and makes that thing really flow. Right.
And sound, all that stuff, lighting, the whole thing. I mean, it's like an orchestra. You know? And it's a wonderful process, especially when it comes together.
Yes. Yes.
If it doesn't come together, it's not so wonderful.
I know.
But it's but it's still fun. Again, like any other actor would say, the best day they have is a day on the set.
I hear it all the time, and I totally agree. Yeah. I go there, and I'm really like a happy guy. If I'm going to be on set, I'm like, this is a good day. Yeah.
Right. And the other thing is that usually what happens is if the day went like that, like sometimes I finish a shoot, and I can't believe that it's over, and I'm such a high, and I'm driving home, and what am I going to do with this natural high?
But you're right, and that's when you're passionate about something. time flies when you're having fun.
Right.
You're enjoying the whole thing, and it's adrenaline. It's an adrenaline high. It really is.
And then coming down from it, it's a kind of
Yeah.
a drag. Because what are you going to? You go back to real life, and real life has, for me at least. I mean, I have a wonderful family and blah blah blah.
I'm
but
with
real
you.
life, in certain ways, doesn't compare.
No,
to
and when I
this
come sometimes, as you said, Alan, if I'm on set all day and it's a late, goes into the night and I get home, you're right.
Yeah.
I can have been up for, a 12-hour day, but I can't go home and just turn it off. I have to unwind because I'm still high from that.
And the other thing is, when
Adrenaline.
I filmed that one of the Ken Kushner's projects, my call time was 6, but he didn't get to me until 1 o'clock in the
It
morning.
happens all the time.
But when they called action, it was like the adrenaline. I was like,
Yeah.
it wasn't like I was sleepy.
Yep.
Meanwhile, at home at 1 o'clock, I'm snoozing. I'm snoring. You know what I mean? So
Again, if you're enjoying it, you
have
have
you
a
had late
different-
night shoots?
Absolutely, and that's how it feels. That's how it feels. You get that rush, and you're doing something you love, so you're on.
And the lights also help because like when the lights are on, it's like daytime, whether it's 2 o'clock in the
Right.
morning or
Right.
9 o'clock in the morning.
Right, but you see that in your fellow actors. Actors want to act. They want to perform.
Right.
They're always on. They always want to be, on and do their thing, which is it's good.
And the other thing, again, I don't know, this is kind of silly stuff, but even when it's cold outside and you have to take your jacket off, when you're acting, you don't feel it. You know what I
Right.
mean? It's like, and then as soon as it's a cut, then all of a sudden you realize, wait,
Yeah,
it's
it's
freezing.
cold.
Have you experienced that as well?
Yeah. Again, you're in the moment, and you're in. And
There's nothing like it. There's nothing like it.
Yeah, it's great.
It's sort of like making love. You know what I mean? It's like at that moment, it's like it's just to me it is. It's like a love thing.
Yeah,
you know?
and again, that's passion, and that's when you're enjoying what you do.
So again, what projects do you have coming up soon?
So a couple of the real good projects that I'm excited about. I'm going to be doing a comedic little thing with a friend of mine, which is really exciting. But we'll probably talk about it next time we get together.
Right.
But some of the movie things. The Never Forget, which is 9/11 related.
That's going to be great.
That's a really good cause and an important concept. Stronger Than Pretty, which is a story about women's empowerment. Right. That's another thing. So some good stuff cooking. So I'm excited about it.
Where would we be able? Where can we see your stuff?
Well, some
Right
of them
now.
are independent. So one is going to be viewing out in Long Island, and then will be released. The Dirty Kind is also released. It's a film that I played. We had a small clip of that. I was an attorney. That opened up on the West Coast. Now it's going to be on DVDs.
Oh, great.
So that'll be available. And I always put out. I have a website, AnthonyCoppolaOnline.com, and I use social media, even though I'm old school. I use social media these days, so anything that's coming up, I always put out there and let everyone know how they can see it.
Awesome. So it was really great having you on the show.
Great here. Same here.
And I got to tell you,
appreciate it.
we talk and talk and talk, but unfortunately, there's just one thing left to say. That's a wrap. Good night, folks.
Right.